So today I'm going to show you some different options for backpacking tents. When you're backpacking, you want to make your pack as light as possible. That's going to keep more strain off your joints and muscles, and it's just going to make for a more enjoyable backpacking trip. There's three main pieces of gear that you want to think about to reducing your overall pack weight. One is your tent, the second is your sleeping bag, and the third is your pack. So if you can kind of look at what you're going to be using, what those three pieces of gear you're going to be using, and try and make those lightweight options, then that's going to shave a lot of weight off your overall pack weight. So I have 4 tents here I'm going to show you. They're all my tents, so I've used them. I know a lot about the pros and cons of these tents, and they're 4 very different types of tents. So here we go. All my tents. This first one's a Marmot Titan 2. It's the heaviest tent, backpacking tent that I have. It weighs about 5 pounds. It's pretty durable though. I've had this for over 10 years now. It's a pretty basic tent. It's just got 2 poles holding it up, and then crisscross poles, and then it's all mesh on the inside, which is really great for ventilation. Ventilation is very important if you're because if you don't have ventilation, you're going to get condensation, which is going to get you wet, and that's exactly what you're trying to avoid by sleeping in a tent. So it's got 2 vestibules and 2 doors on either side, which is nice if you have a buddy sleeping next to you. If you need to get up in the middle of the night or something, you don't have to roll over each other. That brings me to the Hornet 2-person tent by Nemo. I've had this tent for about a year. I haven't used it a ton, but I really like it. It's very light. It weighs just over 2 pounds, which is really good for a freestanding tent. While this tent is technically freestanding, meaning it doesn't need to be staked out, if you don't stake it out, it's not going to be very sturdy at all, and it's going to blow over in a strong wind. So it really does kind of need to be staked out, but it's held up with poles, and it's pretty easy to set up. Because it's ultralight, the material is very thin. Even like the zippers are very little, and everything's a little bit more on the delicate side, so you have to be more careful with these ultralight tents than you would like that Marmot. But I really like this tent. It's nice and green on the inside. It's got a little water just because I left these up last night and I forgot to shut the door because I wasn't actually planning on sleeping in them. And then we come to this guy. This is not a freestanding tent. So this one, if it's not held up by the stakes, or if it's not staked out, it will not be standing. It's being held up by 2 trekking poles, which is cool because anytime you can use one item in many different ways, it's really good in lightweight backpacking, because then that's one less item you need to bring. Like if you're gonna have trekking poles already, you might as well use them to set up your tent, which is really cool. It's made out of Dyneema, which is this light and strong material, very expensive material. This tent's actually, kind of see right through it. This tent's actually probably a $400 or $500 tent. My aunt gave it to me. I don't usually spend that much money on tents. And to guy it out, you have to like tension everything just right, and it's kind of a pain to set this thing up. It's also a pain to get into. Like it just has one zipper down here at the bottom that you kind of gotta weasel your way in. It's a pain. I'm not a huge fan of this tent, honestly. I'm probably gonna sell it, but it has its place in the backpacking world. There's lots of tents out there similar to this one that aren't freestanding, and they can be a really nice lightweight option for long backpacking trips. And then we come to the tarp tent. This one, I actually love this tent. I took it with me on a 20-day backpacking trip across the Olympic Peninsula. It's very light. It's less than a pound. I usually set it up with trekking poles, but since I was using the trekking poles on the other tent, I just put this stick under there, and that actually works great. It's actually very easy to set up. You just stake the back down and then put your pole in and then guy it out, and it's actually a lot easier to set up than that tent over there. I went ahead and put my sleeping bag in there just to kind of show you guys what it looks like. The one negative to this tent is if you are out in the woods all by yourself, alone in the dark, sometimes it would just feel a little more cozy to have an extra wall just to keep you away from the night darkness. But other than that, it's a great tent. So these are just a few of the options out there. There's thousands of different tents and they all have their pluses and minuses, but I thought I'd show you guys mine. I also have a hammock tent that I might put up here in a bit, but these are all the ground tents that I have. So yeah, thank you. Okay, the last tent I'm going to show you is a hammock tent. This thing is cool because it's super easy to set up. Like, I just set it up in like 2 minutes basically. You can set it up. I didn't fully set it up because if you wanted to actually sleep in this thing, I'd probably like put a P-cord across the top and guy this out. And then I would also, if you think there is any possibility that it might rain, you'd want to set up a tarp over you too, which can be a pain. But to just set up the hammock, it's really easy. And it's nice, it's comfortable. It's more comfortable than I thought it was gonna be. It's probably not for everyone, but it has its pluses. Around here in Southern Illinois, or I used it on a 6-day trip in Florida, there was no shortage of nice trees to set it up. And that's kind of nice because you're not impacting the ground at all. And these slings are wide enough that they're not gonna hurt the tree. So it's a cool way to camp. I really enjoy it in certain instances. The one negative is it's very cold. It can sleep really cold because you have the air all around you. And it's hard to stay warm. People will use like a quilt that goes under the hammock and then one to go over, but that's kind of a lot of extra stuff. So I actually only use these if it's going to be really warm, like not get any lower than like the high 40s really. If it's lower than that, then you gotta use that underquilt and just have a little bit better sleep system to stay warm. But it's a cool way to camp. I like it in the summer. It's fun. I will set it up with a sleeping pad to stay warm also, not for comfort, but just for some extra insulation. And yeah, that's my final tent. Thanks for tuning in.